Welcome to the new episode of All That Jazz. I'm your host Matyash, and I have with me Sarah Strong. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're coming in strong. I
Always.
love the last name. Is there a particular story about that you know in your family about your last name?
Well, it's my dad's my dad's name. It's from England. My dad was born in Newcastle in England, so it's a very common English surname.
It's not too far from where I am in Glasgow, actually. Probably driving is like 3 hours away. For
true.
People that don't know. Yeah, so you're a intuitive life coach. So okay, so I have a lot of guests that I have on have a particular journey, and did you have like a spiritual experiences and all that when you were really young?
Yeah, I started having experiences when I was actually, the first most significant one was when at conception. I remember back to when I became life. When I first became life, I had a flash of the entire timeline.
Wow.
I came here as an awakened soul. So I obviously, I had this flash most recently that I remembered. I could see everything that was going to take place, more likely major events, not every single tiny detail, obviously, because that would be quite a lot of information, but I knew there would be a split in humanity. I knew that this time in life would happen, and I knew that there'd be I knew very, very specific details about the events that are affecting the world at the moment. So that was like one very significant one that I've remembered most recently. And then the other ones, I remember always being psychic and telepathic as a kid. And I grew up in the Christian church. So I would hear people's minds, I would hear people what they were thinking. And I made a decision at that age that I really didn't want their God because of how they acted around their God. I wanted a God that was way more like loving,
right.
loving, and I had my idea of God and it was not the same as theirs. So yeah, it's very interesting being empathic, feeling things, knowing things, hearing things that a kid, they're not supposed to hear that kind of stuff, but I never told anyone. So I was intuitively guided not to tell anyone my gifts because it wouldn't have been accepted within the Christian community.
Yeah, people think that, well, I think still a lot nowadays. People, if you have some kind of telepathic ability or anything like that, I think people would freak out. Is there, so if I start to think of something, are you able to like tune in and be like, yeah, you're thinking of this? Can we?
We could try. This is kind of like, okay, the difference between a psychic and like what's the other word, like a fortune teller,
Right.
that's what a fortune teller kind of does, reads minds and kind of like deciphers what the person's thinking in order to make a quick buck. I don't do that. And I've never really, like, I guess, I don't know, to play around, I've tried it with numbers and things like that, but really it's my like pact with my crew. So I'm part of the Galactic Federation and the Intergalactic Federation of Light. And so the pact that we have is that we use our gifts for the betterment of humanity and for the benefit of all sentient beings, which includes for us animals, plants, literally everything on this planet. And so doing stupid things like that, it's kind of superfluous to our mission. We stay pretty focused on mission. So yeah, having a fun is different. Like if you'd like to know something really beautiful about your life, we could tune in and absolutely
okay, we can do that
rather than
later.
just playing games with the gifts.
All right.
I'm totally, like, we just stay quite focused on, especially when we're tuning into the energy, because we can channel whatever you want. So to channel a number that you're thinking, we could use the time way more effectively.
Okay. I get that. Okay.
Way more
So
divinely. Yeah.
Right. So there's a sense that we don't want to trifle our time away by
Yeah.
playing these games, and instead we want to be more productive with our time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
And you are from Australia.
Yeah.
I've lived in hostels, and obviously I don't know if you know about hostels in UK. There's a lot of Australians, and they
Yeah.
usually walk around barefoot and all that. Have and they talk about Vegemite, and sometimes they have Vegemite with them actually. And it's fun. The Australians are a lot of fun. So how did you then decide that, were you guided to move to the United States?
So that was it's funny, I'm writing a new book at the moment. I'm literally just writing that part of my journey,
Oh,
how
wow.
I came back to the States. It's Awakening the Divine Feminine, my book called Awakening the Divine Feminine. So it was an offer actually that I had been given in 2015 to come and work for an entrepreneur over here. And the offer fell through at that time. And then it was offered to me again in 2018.
Mhm.
So I wasn't enjoying living in Australia. I haven't lived in Australia very much in my life. I've lived mostly in England. I was in London for 14 years. And then I just jumped back to Australia for a couple of years. And it just was too small for me. I'd lived globally for so long that Perth was just way too small.
Oh yeah, I lived in Perth. That makes sense.
Yeah, I was in Perth.
No offense to Perth, but it is a smaller town compared to
Exactly. It was
Melbourne
very
or
beautiful.
Sydney, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I find all of Australia small because of I've lived there my whole life. You know, I lived in Sydney. I lived in Perth.
Okay.
So I was in Perth, and I got this opportunity to work in Miami, and I jumped at the opportunity because I really wanted to live outside Australia again, and it was a great opportunity for me at the time. It was my dream job.
Right.
It didn't turn into my dream job, but it got me to the US, and hence why I can stay and be here now.
Oh wow. So it had the gifts of let's say the visa, as shall we say.
Yeah, so it helped me get here and stay here. Exactly. It was a visa gift at the beginning, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I feel like with I have a similar thing now with UK because I've been away for a long time, but because I've spent so much time here, they granted me the what they call settled status. So and I was like really surprised by that because I wasn't expecting it. So do you think that's kind of a sign from the universe when something happens, good happens when you're not expecting it and you're like, oh wow, this happened, and it feels so good that it happened.
For sure. What I like to call, and also what the road less traveled called synchronicities. And then there's another book called The Celestine Prophecies. They call them coincidences. Like when those things start to happen over and over again, they give you a lot of energy. If you learn to stop and really recognize those moments in time as a synchronicity, that they start to give you more energy. And then that energy creates more energy, creates more. So that's where, when life is slower, when you have, you know, for some people, they know how to slow down. Some people get illnesses. Some people like hurt themselves in some way to help them stop and really see that the synchronicities are happening in every single moment. The synchronicities happening. So for me, I see numbers. I might see 15:15. Like I have my clock set to 24-hour clock for some strange reason. I don't even know why.
Right.
But you know, I see 15:15. I see 14:14 or 11:11. Like that happens, and maybe I might see someone, and that person might be talking to someone on the phone who's called Sarah, you know. So these little things, and then I always capitalize on those moments and like connect with that person, or whatever I'm guided to in the moment. You know, sometimes I'll get that person's details or add them on Facebook, or, you know, if someone says I've got a nice dress, sometimes it's appropriate just to say thank you. But sometimes I know that person, maybe they want to connect on a deeper level for some reason. And, you know, we'll follow each other on social media or for some other reason, you know, so that there can be a deeper underlying message in any of those moments. And it's awesome to start to look for them. It's life enhancing to look for them.
Do you find that people named Sarah like you are kind of strong with a strong kind of vital energy? Because I had a guest on, her name is Sarah Jennings. I actually met her. I went to her birthday party because she's in Scotland as well. But she has I would say she's a type of person that's really a go-getter, really gets stuff done, and it's very quick to transition from ideas to action. Where I'm learning to be more like that, but I've always been more like an idea person, but I want to be more action. So yeah, long story short, my question is about, oh, sorry about this. My alarm just went off. Wow. That was reminding me not to get off track with my question. So basically, do you think it's a vibrational thing with the name? Sarah,
that's a
let's
really
say.
good question. Actually, I'm not sure. Maybe I've met a lot of really vibrant, fun Sarahs, and I can't remember. There's usually more than one in my sphere. I have a lady I've just met down in Key West. Her name is Sarah. And yeah, we're both intuitives. It could be. And there's things in numerology that would be connecting that as well.
Yeah.
In the name, with each letter representing a different number. So yeah, you're probably right. There's probably something very vibrational about the name that would cause us to be similar in some respects, for sure.
I saw on Facebook that you were in the area of Sedona. Is that?
I'm currently in Phoenix, actually.
Okay. Wow. But
Arizona.
you're very close. You're very close.
Mm-hmm.
And Sedona is very special in my heart because the late David R. Hawkins was there, which was a very influential spiritual teacher in my life. And yeah, but Sedona by itself has an amazing energy, right?
It does indeed, yes. I was there in May and June of this year, and I'm heading up there on the 10th of October with a friend, just for the day. We're going to just drive up there and do what we do in Sedona, go to coffee shops and go have a nice lunch and maybe do a hike, maybe do a little creek hike and go for a swim.
Right. I still want to go back.
Yeah, you must. What's so magical about Sedona is that there's a lot of quartz crystal in all of the rocks that are surrounding, and hematite. There's a lot of iron in the rocks, so it's very magnetizing. So if there's good things going on in your life, it magnetizes them. If there's things that you need to look at, that also magnetizes them. So a little warning, shit's gonna hit the fan.
Oh, so you think the energy system, the vortexes in Sedona are a good precursor of what's happening with humanity?
I would say more on a personal level. So
okay.
It's like an upheaval. So if you're doing your shadow work, if you're facing the stuff, the darkness that is in your soul that needs to be cleansed, awesome. Yeah. And if you're not, Sedona will bring it to the surface.
Oh wow.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that the spiritual energy of Sedona, there's like, oh, I thought I turned you off. My goodness. Okay, it should be turned off now. Oh, sorry. The energy, like there's a Buddhist stupa there.
Yes.
And I think that by itself radiates energy that's amazing.
Yeah. Actually, we were there when I was there the last trip. We went around the stupa.
Yeah, I was there a couple of times, and stupa is amazing. Do you have any you said you had a Christian background. Well, which denomination was it?
Pentecostal.
So it's kind of
speaking in tongues, dancing, singing. A lot of, still lots of preaching, but a lot of worship, a lot of singing.
Yeah. And what's your how has your spiritual practice evolved over time?
Mhm. I wouldn't call myself like what they call a Christian today. I definitely am a follower of Christ. I love Jesus and Mary and God. I use those words in my life. You know, like I travel with the Ascended Masters. They're part of my guide team. So how my spirituality has evolved. That's a magical question, babe. Thank you. So I started meditating in about 2001/2. So I've had a very long meditation journey, and I started doing very basic, like 10 minutes in the morning every day. I literally probably haven't meditated for probably 5 days in over 20 years because I love it so much. And I know like the effect that it has on my daily life is so magical and so deep
Mm.
that I'm just so drawn to it. So this morning, I think I woke up. I probably started waking up at 4 a.m. this morning. I did go to bed very, very early, but I got up at 5, just after 5, and I started my meditation practice and probably meditated for about 40 minutes this
Oh,
morning. And then,
wow.
and then after yoga this morning, then I did another deep meditation. I almost had an out of body experience. Then tonight I'll do at least another 15, 20 minutes before going to bed as well. So that has formed the basis of my spiritual practice. And I don't call myself anything. I believe in everything today. Literally, I believe in you. I believe in energy. I believe in love. I believe in that every single person has a responsibility to themselves to give to themselves in a spiritual way.
Mhm.
Now, I know that not everybody does, but we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So that's the basis of my spirituality today, is that you've got a soul in you, I've got a soul in me, and I just want to love the shit out of everyone.
Right.
So that is my ethos, is just you. I am love, you are love. We came from love, and we're all going back to love. So in whatever capacity we can to get there with each other. I know that's hard. I know we're all human and we'll have like hiccups and pain along the way, but it's having that main focus of love that's my primary drive today. So
Mm.
it's evolved from Christianity. I was 13, I decided that wasn't for me, and then I just started to seek and search from that age. I moved to London when I was 24. I started my meditation and yoga practices back then. So I've been doing both of those for more than, I think, 19 or 20 years. So 2001, yeah, it's about 19 to 20 years I've been doing those practices.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, for that amount of time. And it's really magical. Like people come to me and they're like, oh, I tried meditation, doesn't work. I'm like, how many times did you try? And they tell me, oh, once or twice. I'm like, I tried it for 12 years and I still didn't think it worked, but I kept trying it because it still had an impact on my life, even when I felt like it wasn't working. And then I was at an Osho retreat in England,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a very, very magical experience. So there's a lot of dynamic meditation, and we were doing a dancing meditation one night, and you dance and dance and dance and move, and then like you just stop in one movement, you just stop. And in this one moment of stillness, I felt the energy of Osho touched my soul, and my whole energy system just changed, and my meditation practice changed from that day. I felt like I could drop straight into samadhi, straight into total bliss state, like close my eyes and drop straight in. And then another book that I read that really influenced my meditation practice was The Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda.
Oh, yeah. Very
And
famous. Yeah.
I'm getting chills now, even him in his here. So he travels with me as well. I'm part of their lineage. I was his teacher in a past life. I was Sri Yukteswar in a past life. And he's made it very clear to me that I'm part of their lineage, their living lineage, in this lifetime. Westernized, obviously, but in
Right.
that book, there's this description of the seat of the soul that I had never felt or experienced before, which is a place in the mind that goes from the third eye straight back, halfway back inside your head, and then a place from the middle of your head straight down. So there's this area that when you meditate and focus on that area, it connects you to the divine, and your soul is
Mm.
an interconnecting point that is very, very powerful. And I started doing that on a daily basis probably a year ago now, maybe 2 years ago. I read that book. Yeah, I think 2. And then that revolutionized the way I meditated as well. So it's always a practice. They call it a practice because you never get it.
Right. But it seems like you're the consistency with which you meditated for almost 20 years now has obviously, it's almost like, I liken it to in money that there's a thing called compounding.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I think it's kind of the same with what we do in life. Like if you do a certain thing over and over and over again, there's certain residual stuff that also will start to compound on it. Yeah, like people that practice basketball a lot, like they will be inevitably better than those that only practice once a week. And then there's certain things that if you do it with consistency and with that, if you also do it with intensity, that you can't replicate any other way, really.
You're so right. You're so right. And that's the part of meditation that I actually have started writing a book on meditation as well.
Right.
That kind of taken backseat to this next one I'm writing. But the title of the book is called Meditation Doesn't Work in big print, and then small print, it happens. Because it's like if you're trying and trying and trying at it, it will never happen. It's when you totally surrender to the practice is when it starts to have an effect. And for those of you out there that would like to start meditating, I actually do a meditation group every Tuesday night. So I'll tell people at the end how they can get in touch with me. But also meditating in groups really, really, really helped at the beginning. So when I first was starting to deepen my practice, I would sit in groups of 20 or 30 people, and also listening to teachers. We had a lot of teachers come over from India in London, and Rinpoches and holy masters, and enlightened beings, all sorts of beings, lamas, things like that would come and give teaching. So Sadhguru is an amazing teacher that you can find him all over YouTube. He's amazing. There's Ram Dass. Osho is also another amazing teacher that you can listen to on YouTube. There's so many teachers. They help you because they're an embodiment of bliss. They're an embodiment of the energy that they're in a waking state, but they an embodiment in a waking state of the bliss of meditation, because they have meditated so much that they hold the bliss state and they are it in their waking moments. So it's awesome. Like even with your eyes closed, listening to their words, that will help vibrate your body and vibrate your energy at a higher level, because they're already at that level and it's all energy. And so whatever's coming through comes through the TV. It's all electromagnetic energy and waves. So whether it's a recording or not, the same amount of vibration, the same level of energy is still vibrating through the TV or your iPhone or your phone or whatever device you're looking at it, you get the energy of that person. So with an intention, that's most important, to have an intention when you're listening to it. If you're closing your eyes, you're set the intention that you aim to go into a meditative state, a deep relaxation state when you're listening to it. That will then you'll get the most benefit out of that.
There's also, I don't know, do you know the country singer Johnny Cash?
Yes.
He made a promise one time to his mother that he's gonna read the New Testament, make like an audiobook. And he did. I once listened to it because he had an incredible voice, right? So he read the whole New Testament and listened to it, and it was quite amazing. But then you come to the Revelations, and it kind of that scared me. I mean, I've heard stuff before about it, but listening to it, I was like, whoa. So, but I think if people listen to what's the Hindu holy book? My gosh, this is second. Bhagavad Gita, right? This is the second time I forgot on a podcast. Bhagavad Gita, if you listen to that, even on audio form, and you meditate on it, because I'm sure there is a version on audio, you can listen to it. And yeah, that's also like amazing. Or just like meditating on a simple passage that you really like in a spiritual book, and just getting the essence. I guess
Yeah.
that's kind of contemplation as well. What would you differentiate contemplation and meditation?
So a meditation practice is best done eyes closed. There is
Mm,
some practices that like are a fixed gaze, where that's more difficult, or that's more easy for some and more difficult for others.
right.
So whatever you would like to learn, it's like go and find the one that makes you feel the best. At the beginning, do something that's easy. So meditation is best done with eyes closed, whereas contemplation, I believe, is more around journaling or reading something and maybe sitting and just pondering the information, or allowing the information to integrate and settle in your soul. So contemplation for me, I feel like it's more about reading something and then contemplating on the reading and maybe
Mm.
journaling around it. Whereas meditation is an internal practice. Contemplation is almost connected to an external tool, a book, a podcast, whatever you're into.
Yeah, there's a quote I really love, and I'm interested what your take on it is. It goes something like that: victory over others brings you satisfaction, but victory over yourself brings you joy.
Is
And
who's the quote? Is it? It's not Confucius, is it?
no,
Or,
it's by David Hawkins, who was
oh, cool.
I think he lived in Sedona for the last 30 years of his life. Yeah,
Wow. Wow. It
yeah,
sounds very Taoist. It sounds like Lao Tzu. I mean, those kinds of things. It's like dominion over your own mind is the most powerful, is the most powerful gift that you can give yourself.
right.
That's where meditation is essential. You cannot have dominion over your ego mind and your like waking mind without the content, like turning the gaze within.
Right. I think this is like a message also to myself to meditate more, because I did like have sporadic periods in my life where I meditated, but then I kind of stopped. So I need like what you have, consistency. I need that. I want that. You know. And
It takes
maybe the key is to start really small, like 5 minutes a day or something, and then build up, right?
Absolutely. I wrote that in a post this week.
Mm,
Literally, even if you start with 5 minutes in the morning, maybe you can stop. Say it's 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. You do 5 minutes. Then you stop at 12 o'clock and do another 5. Then you stop at 3 o'clock and do another 5. And at 7 p.m. or before bed, you do another 5. You've done 20 minutes of meditation.
mm,
And it's way better than just saying, I can't do anything at all.
right.
Because that's the comment that I have gotten, all the responses I've gotten from so many people when I talk about meditation. People may be having problems, or they may be feeling frustrated, or have anxiety, or have unrest in some way in their life. And the first question I'll ask them is, do you meditate? And if they say no, I'll ask them why not. And then they'll tell me that it doesn't work. And it's like, how long have you tried? And then it's like, I've tried once or twice. It's like, okay, so try again and try it differently. Try it until it feels good. Even try with 1 minute, like 60 seconds is better than nothing. So it's like breaking it down to bite-sized pieces where it just feels like a flow. If meditation doesn't feel like a flow, you're not gonna benefit from it anyway.
Right.
So yeah, it's taming the mind, and meditation is the most amazing thing for taming the mind.
It's kind of like if somebody is going to the gym, it's like, oh, I tried and I went once or twice, but I didn't get a muscular body. And it's the same thing. Nobody, everybody would laugh at that, because like obviously it takes time, and people have an understanding of that physical stuff takes time, but it's no different. Mental stuff also, and spiritual stuff takes time. You can just like meditate intensely for 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden your life is gonna be all magical and like, ooh, I live with the hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. No, it doesn't happen like that. It happens usually. It takes a lot of time. You need to work at it, right?
It's so true. And another great way to start, I mentioned after mentioning exercising, gave me the idea. and was a suggestion to me, is doing something active before sitting down and trying to meditate. So if you're a runner, if you're a swimmer, if you're a dancer, if anything that activates the body first, because it's much easier for the mind to rest if the body's are just been active like moments before. So even trying to meditate or meditating after a jog or after going and being active in some way can really help as well.
Yeah. You know, this reminds me, I was once listening to your Q&A with Hawkins, and there was one guy that said, oh, with meditation, he kind of wants like, he wants like to listen to disco music. And Hawkins just said, well, it's too much physical energy. You just need to exercise before and go go dancing or something, or you're running or something before. Because I think that's the balance of life. You need to, if you have a lot of vital energy and you need to get the physical out, obviously that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
All right.
And most people have that a lot. So maybe not everyone loves exercising, or not everyone loves to dance or sing or move or run, but everyone has that energy here. Yeah. So literally every single soul has that mental energy in the mind. So it's like whatever helps you get that energy from the mind down into your heart center, because that's where you're going to benefit in a meditative practice, is if your energy is from your mind into your heart. So even if that's like sitting upside down, or like bending over and putting your head down so you get blood rush to the head, or whatever it is, it doesn't even need to be that active. I am understanding that not everyone can be active. Maybe someone's not well, or somebody has something wrong with their body, or you know, they're not fully able. But there's always something. If you can use your arms, you could like shake your hands, or whatever you can do. There's always, or just stretch your neck, or very light things. It's like just getting that energy from the mind into the rest of the body is really essential. Yeah,
I do like Tai Chi.
Exactly. Anything that's easy and accessible.
So what's the you mentioned before like Intergalactic Federation?
Yes.
Okay, so explain to my audience and me as well what it is.
Awesome. So hence why I love this background on Zoom. I feel at home in the stars. Exactly. I am a star being. I'm a star traveler. So I've traveled from many star systems, planets, all over our galaxy and beyond. So hence the intergalactic. So what that means is that I've been in many different life forms. For example, Pleiadian, I've been Pleiadian, Arcturian, Andromedean, Syrian, Lyran, Lemurian, Atlantean. There is many more that they call me a galactic mutt up there.
Right.
Because I've been traveled through all the stars, and I've chosen to be on Earth at this time to be in service to the Great Awakening. So I've traveled into, so the Galactic Federation of Light include the Pleiadians at the moment, the Arcturians, Andromedeans, and then
but not everyone. Why not everyone?
Not everyone, no, because not every race has interest or has the authority to have a presence energetically here, or cares to. So the Pleiadians are extremely active with humanity. The Andromedeans, Arcturians they also have a vested interest in our development, that they are active. And so there's some of the races that are inactive, but they're observers. And there's some of the races have other things to do and other planets to take care of. So they all have different soul missions. And so there's more like taking care of Earth right now than there has ever been. And there's a lot of us who are earthbound. They call us the earthbound. It's kind of a play on words because we're kind of bound to Earth as well. I gave up being able to go back to the stars. I'm bound to Earth eternally.
Really? So, eternally? Wow.
Eternally, yes. So it's that in human terms, and my human self, that kind of gives me a lot of sorrow, because I love being in the stars and I love being with my galactic family and intergalactic families. Although in the spirit, we're always connected anyway. It's just so Earth is very important. Earth is actually very important in the whole galactic plan. and the energetic shift that Earth is making into ascension at the moment. So there was something else they wanted me to mention about this. So yes, so there's many, many, many beings who are known as starseed beings on the planet at the moment. And one part of my new part of my business is starseed coaching. So there's a lot of people that are very sensitive. A lot of them will be psychic, empathic, telepathic, and be healers. A lot of the starseed beings are on Earth to step into their healership. So that is one of my plans and missions on Earth, is to be a beacon of light for those beings, so they can get fully activated into all of their gifts and serve the communities and the people that they came here to serve. So yeah, does that answer your question, or do you need more?
I think so. I think so. It's like it's basically the star seed races. Is this like this dimension, like they are somewhere in the galaxy, or are they different dimensions?
Other dimensions. So
okay.
So they can enter our dimension. We're on the third dimension. And then when we go to sleep, that's the fourth. So, and then the fifth and above is where we're ascending to. And then once you see, it's very difficult to describe these things in detail with the human language. A lot of the human language is extremely limited in its like verbally into
right
describing the dimensions. So we think the dimensions are separate. The dimensions are not separate. They're always like weaving and interwoven, and they're flowing into each other and out of each other. So when they can enter the third dimension, they cloak themselves so that they're not seen by humanity, although they do crop circles and they do all sorts of fun things that to let us know their presence is here. So they've been doing those sorts of things for years, thousands of years actually. They came and they helped the Egyptians build the pyramids. They came and they've had a presence on Earth for a very, very long time. So they have entered into the third dimension, but they're always working on all of the other dimensions, like basically shining light onto Earth for her ascension, to help with their ascension process.
Okay. Let me see if I should ask this. What? Because it's always tricky to when I record a podcast to ask. But you said you channel information for. Obviously, we were gonna do like a play on thing early. But okay. So what is the you obviously know your mission, but what is, let's say, what is part of my mission? Let's not go into all my mission, because I don't think that will be revealed anyway, and I probably wouldn't want that. But I guess, is doing this part of my mission? Probably is, I'm guessing.
So the first thing that came through is communication for you, like in shiny lights, communication and communicating information. So hence why you're drawn to doing podcasting, because that's obviously really in alignment with how to communicate information. It's a channel to get information out there.
Yeah.
So they're saying you have deep ties to Ireland as well. So
islands? Which islands?
Ireland.
Ireland. Oh,
Ireland.
I've never been to Ireland. Oh, I need to go.
So they're showing me a lot of Celtic kind of druid energy for you, to you, that you will draw a lot of your gifts from going and visiting Ireland into the forest, less in the cities, but into the forest, and with an intention to meet people who are. They're also saying you can go to places like Aylesbury and in England, Aylesbury and Glastonbury, to meet and like put your feelers out to meet people that are druids and witches and that kind of thing, because you have a lot of energy there to gain more gifts, like magical gifts from those people. That's
interesting, because I have a good friend of mine. She told me that she did some past life work, and I was I don't know how long ago was this, but a period when there was druids in England, and I was a druid there, and I was helping her in some way. But so it's interesting that you say that. And but also I had a previous guest that I had a session with, and she told me that I'm part something Starseed. I forget actually which. But does that would that matter at all, or if you know what you are?
Yes, it helps definitely. So what came in quite strongly just now, at which star you're connected to, is Orion. So the Orions have an influence on Earth right now too. I'm very connected to Orion, and I've lived on every star that's part of the Orion system.
Mm.
So they each have different qualities. So when you learn about the qualities that the Orions have in your own way, like you can either Google them, you can look on YouTube. There's lots of different places. There's a lot of articles and things like that about the different starseed beings. So what that does, it can activate you. So I'm known as a starseed activator. So a lot of people, a lot of starseeds, if they see me on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that, they have a soul recognition of me. It's nothing really to do with my physical form. It's more to do with the energy that's coming out of me, but people don't realize that. It goes more into the, like, it has a very strong impact on their subconscious. And then if they interact with me, then they will get feelings, like they'll have like energy pulses through their body, sometimes tingling. I'll get energy showing up in my body in service to people as well. So it's like, yeah, it's very activating to be, sometimes for me as well, to interact with beings that I've traveled with in the stars. So we've probably traveled in Ireland. I was going to say Ireland, but we've probably traveled in Ireland, because it's just about to come out my mouth, and Orion,
Right.
in past lives, of which we can then draw energy from there's no such thing as past in other dimensions. It's only time, it only exists on the third dimension. So we can literally pull any energy from any past lives into this present moment.
Wow.
Once you know that you can with that intention, you can just pull in whatever you want from past lives.
But then wouldn't that mean that also future is kind of fuzzy as well? That and that's kind of scary proposition, because then that would mean that there is actually, oh well, there is choice, but it's kind of like because like you know how they do past life regression, some people do future life, and I'm kind of like, well, that's a potential, that's not set in stone, right?
No, you have free will. You're a sovereign
Yeah.
being. Yeah. So I can do both. We can look into the future, we can look into the past. I'm not authorized to disclose anything from the future to anyone.
That's cool.
That's what I call, what some psychics do, but I'm not authorized to go there.
Right. Well, when we talked previously, you also were saying that you're not authorized to because I was asking
I have
if
a
you,
political stance. I don't
yeah,
have
I love to do that, but maybe it's, you know what it is, I figured out, a lot of Irish, when they come to the States, a lot of them are very politically active and stuff like that. I don't know what is it about Ireland, but it's a lot, very, you know, Kennedys and all that. They're very politically active. So for whatever reason, maybe it's the
They're
Celtic,
very
you know.
opinionated.
Yeah.
They're a very opinionated race, but then also they're very strong. They've survived a lot. I mean, if the Irish have survived a lot. I mean, most races have actually, but
Yeah.
they're strong and opinionated and funny, and I have a lot of background in my blood from Ireland, from the Celts.
Maybe I have a long like historic blood, but I don't think I have any recent, like all of it is Slavic for me. Let's talk a little bit about unicorns. So when this is funny.
Yay! My favorite topic in the whole world.
Is it? So when we talked before, you said that there is a dimension actually where they exist, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it's the official animal of Scotland or something. Like somewhere.
What?
I might be okay. I have to Google this actually. Unicorn
So
official animal.
while you're Googling that, so there is a planet where the planet is on a different dimension. Actually, they're validating.
It
Yeah,
is. It is.
yep. Official animal of Scotland.
Aye.
Oh my god. I love it. I think I need to live there.
I don't know why. Like, who would think that Scotland would just
I love it. So magical. That's why.
right? They have a love for unicorns, and then they just picked unicorns as their national animal.
It's amazing. I love it. I love it. So there is so basically all planets that we can see and interact with operate and exist on the third dimension. Now, on other dimensions, the beings are visible and exist on said planet. So there's a planet called Uniceros, and this is a planet of unicorns.
Wow.
Uniceros is a planet of unicorns. It's where they live. So I'm going to tell you a little story about when last March, in March 2020, when I quit my job and I started to have just all the time to myself. Like I didn't have to do anything. I started doing a course actually to train to be an intuitive coach. So I would be woken up by my guides in the middle of the night, around, probably 2, 3 a.m. And I would sit in meditation. At that time, at 3 a.m. is the time when the veil is the thinnest between our dimension and the others. So beings can manipulate our dimension more easily during those hours. So hence why they say it's like really beneficial to wake up and meditate between 4 and 6 a.m. in the morning. Also, there's less mental activity and energy in the collective consciousness as well. So anyway, so while I was doing that, while I was meditating one morning, I had 2 major experiences. So the first major experience was I teleported to my castle, my golden castle of light in the sky, and I was Athena sitting on my throne.
Oh wow.
Sitting on the throne. Literally, I was there. This was not a hallucination. This was not a vision. I was there. I physically transported there, and I was just sitting there looking around, and it was beautiful. It was wonderful. And then then split to flying around on my unicorn, literally through the stars, like hi, and I'm just flying around on my unicorn, and we were just like tripping around. She had wings and was flying around. So this was one experience in meditation. So I was conscious, but I was also there. So I was as astral traveling, but I was awake. So the next time is I think it was within that a few weeks of time, I was in meditation doing the same thing, and then this white unicorn literally came into my vision and then just went like this. I went, I am you. So what you have to understand about other dimensions is that in every single dimension we exist. So we are multidimensional beings. So there's one version of you here, there's one version of you in all the other dimensions, doing all sorts of different things, being all sorts of different beings, but you can also operate here at the same time, and then there simultaneously doing what you do.
That's scary. That's scary. I'm not controlling directly the other person, like whoever
your soul is.
right. Oh, okay.
Yes, it's mind expanding, isn't it?
Yes. I once asked somebody this, and he had to think about it. What happens if, let's say, all the dimensions that somebody exists, and what if one version, I guess in one dimension, the person gets enlightened spiritually? What happens to all the rest?
It definitely has an effect on the soul. It doesn't necessarily translate into the human or the other beings. So, and also to clear up what enlightenment is. So enlightenment can happen to anyone in any moment when you choose love over fear. This is the simplest like explanation and version of enlightenment is when you had a go-to of getting angry in a situation. Maybe you got angry in the same situation over and over. A moment of enlightenment is when you choose to forgive and accept and move on from that, in that situation. That is enlightenment. It's possible and accessible for every single being.
So, but would that be permanent enlightenment or just momentary, like you get a flash? Because like, you know, I don't know if you, the classically in religion, like Hinduism and Buddhism, I think it says something about uprooting the personal ego, and there is no, yeah, I think this classically termed as there's no personal ego as such, and there's a state other than that that takes over.
Mm-hmm. So that's a really beautiful question. And yes, if you go from the going, oh, I forgive you, I love you, oh, and you're a bitch, that is a moment of enlightenment. Not that's a moment of enlightenment. So the thing is that life is a choice. You get to choose every single moment as it exists. So I can choose to be in love right now, and I can choose again in this next moment, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, to stay in a state of love. With there, I can perpetuate enlightenment every single moment if I choose. So if I then, the thing is that we are human. Yes, I believe that there's a state, like our soul never came out of a state of enlightenment. Our soul is always in a state of pure love. There's no possibility of a soul not to be fully awake, fully conscious, and fully enlightened. It's just that soul has to allow the human to have the journey.
Right.
So yeah, go on.
I thought of this. Imagine there's two Australians. Someone says, "Do you forgive me?" And the other says, "Yeah, nah, yeah, nah." And I know that's such a saying in Australia. Yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, nah.
Yeah. Basically means no.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to distract you, but it just came to mind. Like,
so yeah, it's a choice. Each moment can be created as a moment of enlightenment. And then, okay, so as you were talking about before, compounding. So if you go, okay, I'm going to forgive you, and I'm going to love you, and I'm going to love myself for doing that. If you do that enough times and like feel that, what that feels like, when you do that and you feel what that feels like, it feels amazing. It's so bliss. It's so, like, it feels like a warm, cozy blanket to be in. And then if you choose to do that again and again and again, and it becomes your life, then you perpetuate your state of enlightenment for as long as you can. And then when you slip out of that and you like forget momentarily, which happens, and you go more into the human condition, and maybe you're feeling hurt or angry, or which obviously is inevitable, it's inevitably going to happen as a human, then you feel what difference that feels like. It's like, okay, cool, how can I get back to a state of love? How can I come back to the state of forgiveness? Because it's painful, although that is necessary. This is a dichotomy. This is the divine dichotomy, is that yes, you're always in a state of enlightenment. So state of enlightenment is your natural state, but then coming out of it, oh my God, God wants me to like share this book, right?
Oh yeah, I know this conversation was with God.
This addresses exactly what I'm talking about right now, is that you cannot go to something if you don't know its opposite. So you cannot go to happiness if you haven't known sadness. You can't go to love if you haven't known hatred is not the opposite of love, of indifference. You cannot know fear if you haven't known peace. You cannot go to one state if you have, you can't go to enlightenment if you haven't known ego. So you cannot go to that state had you not known its opposite. So this is what God, oh my God, this book, God talks about everything. He talks about, I have split myself into all of you. I am all of you. You are God embodied, so that I can experience myself and know myself and feel and see and like have a full visceral experience of myself in as many different ways as I possibly can. So know that you're completely, you are me. you're not God-like, you are God and
Mm.
goddesses, all experiencing each other so that you can learn about yourself.
So when people do come for your to have a session with you, so what kind of services or what can you do for them?
Sure. So the best place to look for that is my website. It's sarahjstrong.com/offerings. And so there's lots of different things. We have, there's a playground of yumminess to play in. So the first offering for a one-on-one session is a 45-minute session, which if you'd like a coaching session, you bring a topic, like one topic in, and we coach deep on that one topic. If you'd like a channeling session, it's the same time, it's 45 minutes. You bring in lots and lots of different questions, and then I just channel the answers for you. So they're the two options for a one-on-one. Then the two options for groups, or there's three options for groups actually. We do a meditation, we call it meditation, bliss out, and mini channel party. I do a mini channel for every single person on the call, and then we go into a beautiful meditation, which is channeled from spirit every single time. No meditation is the same. That's every Tuesday night, and a very small cost. And then that's every single week. And then you get a recording. You can get a recording of the whole session and a recording of the single meditation as well, included in the cost. And so the other two workshops I do are Awakening the Divine Feminine, which is a 2-hour workshop. I do those regularly. The next one coming up is the 9th of October. 1 to 3 p.m. PST.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other group is the Starseed Activation Workshop, which is the next one of those is on the 23rd of October. So both of those, I take multiple people. We do all sorts of yummy things. In the Awaken the Divine Feminine, we start with doing meditation. We also do card readings, and you can get channeled information in support of the awakening your divine feminine within. And then in the Starseed workshops, we do things like light code activation, DNA activation, all sorts of, like, we do meditations that will be connecting you to your galactic families and learning about your origins, learning about your past lives, all sorts of things like that as well. So all of those are on my offerings page. There's a small description of each of those offerings there. And if you want to follow me on social media, I'm Sarah_the Sarah with an H _THE_strong STRONG on Instagram, and Sarah Strong on Facebook. So it's easier to add me on Instagram because Facebook, I get filled up.
Oh yeah, that's the same thing with me now. I'm close to 5,000, and like I have to look for people that I can remove.
If you're adding me on Facebook, write me a message on Messenger saying that you saw this podcast, and I'll add you on Facebook.
Yeah, it's well, by the way, were you using channeling a little bit in this podcast?
Absolutely. I don't do much without channeling because I call in all my guides at the very beginning. I ask for their guidance. My main purpose on this planet is for the ascension of all beings and Earth, Mother Earth herself. So this is, I'm a light worker. So, and I'm getting it's like literally my whole vision just started to spin, and my third eye is like fully activating right now, just saying that. So my guides know, I call them all in at the beginning of at the beginning of the call. And then, certain information, they give me visions. Like I've read a lot of spiritual books. So they kind of like, they'll show me different things like to mention that kind of is very relevant for everyone right now. So it's I know the world is just going through major upheaval right now, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, socially, psychologically, and all of these tools like reading Conversations with God or Autobiography of a Yogi, or listening to any of the masters that I mentioned, or going into a deep meditation practice. All of these things are super practical, to help people on their journey. Actually, there's another book that I've written called Live Wild, Live Free, available on Amazon, that helps you structure your day around a practice, a meditation practice, a spiritual practice, so that you can have and live the most joyful life. And then another book is also Book of Mantras, Bible of Ascension, is also I actually channeled all of that book through from the divine, and that is also an ascension tool. So that's also available on Amazon.
Awesome. I'll put all those links and books in the description of
Okay.
either the video, or if you're listening to the podcast will be there. So awesome. But by the way, last thing, you said Orion, is that a place where, like, what kind of race lives there?
So Orion is a star system. It's
Hmm.
visible in the night sky here,
Okay.
and all sorts of beings live there. So obviously, there's one star that's called Orion. There's other stars that are called all sorts of different. I think Alpha Centauri is one of the stars. There's also all different stars. I don't remember them, all of their names, but in each of those stars, generally the beings are called what the star is called. So the Orions are the Orions, and there was a planet called Mintaka that's no longer there. It imploded just through
Oh, wow. Like that story of Superman and his planet exploding, kind of like that.
But that's just what stars do. Stars just go through a life cycle. It can be
Yeah.
thousands of light years, but they go through a cycle and then they just die. Some stars just die, and that's what happened with Mintaka. But so the Mintakans were from there, and it was a planet of water. It was a water planet, and very,
Oh.
very magical water planet. So that no longer exists. But the Mintakans, and I was Mintakan, and I channel some very amazing energy from that planet. They're telling me to do that today.
Cool. So is the Earth now, okay, this will be the last question before we finish. Is
Yeah.
there, because this is a really big question, is humanity progressing or is it regressing? Because what I'm seeing now, especially in Australia, sadly, is kind of sad to me. So what's your take on this?
So there is a split going on. So New Earth is being created right now. So with us, all of us light workers, all of us starseed beings, we're all holding a vision of New Earth. So New Earth is based on truth and unconditional love. Whereas this old Earth, the third dimensional Earth, and the New Earth resonates at a fifth dimensional energy. So this is very difficult for the human mind to comprehend, but just so you can have a comprehension of it. So 3D old Earth is here, 5D new Earth is being created here simultaneously. While we're in it, it's like one
Wow.
in the same. So what will happen? This is a description. This is not factual. Okay, so what will happen is that new Earth is being created and it's ascending. So truth and unconditional love cannot operate with the greed and the heaviness, the greed-based society that 3D old Earth operates at. So
Right.
essentially, this is what it's going to look like conceptually, is that we're raised to the fifth dimension.
And what happens to everybody that's not there?
So the consciousness of the beings has to be at a high enough vibration to be in new Earth, which, okay, for example, these are some of the things people out there can start to do that can help change their vibration. Okay, so a plant-based or vegetarian diet is essential. Not absolutely imperative, but it will definitely help, even if you do it for a short amount of time, and then to help you kind of lock into that energy field. So reducing how much TV and Instagram and all social media that you do mindlessly.
Right.
It's about the mindlessness. If you're doing it consciously and you're going on to help people or read positive things or do spiritual practices or whatever, doing it with a consciousness, obviously not 10 hours a day. So, having balance in your social media. So basically less media, less meat, more meditation, more time in nature, less complaining, less negative thinking, which also meditation will help with all of these kinds of things. And then having practices in your life that bring you joy, because joy is the highest vibrational emotion, and it will help you to stay in a much higher emotional vibrational energy, and then hence allow you to ease into the fifth dimensional new earth energy that we're all ascending. That's something that is hard to comprehend, that literally 3D earth is still ascending, and so is they're in it together. It's just some people are having a different experience.
Right.
Some people are just in pain and everything is horrible, and whereas other people are in pain but know that it's a journey, know that it's not the end result. So yeah, that's a really good question. It's just, so everyone has free will and everyone has choice. So if people are choosing peace and love and joy and choosing to have those as their go-to, they will start to create the fifth dimensional energy in their lives. The world won't look different. It won't look different. It's just your experience of what you're in will be a different experience.
So there won't be anything different, like looking wise, but there'll be energetically, it'll be different.
Yes. So maybe your job will change. Maybe you could like move cities, or so things could change. Like physically, they can absolutely change, but your experience of life will be different. So if you hate your job, maybe you'll leave and you do something that's more, vibrationally a more vibrational match to where you're going.
Awesome. Sounds good. I hope it will take a long time though. Will it take years or?
It takes years. I mean,
yeah.
the intel that I've got is like over 30 years.
Over 30 years.
It's not a short, we have an accelerated time. And then as things form, they'll definitely come more into form after time.
Okay, awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast. Very interesting.
It's my pleasure.
And thank you everyone for listening or watching the podcast.
Thanks everyone. Thank you so much.